Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm sorry. I'm so used to doing podcasts in the afternoon. This is actually my first one in the morning. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Life, Music, and Everything Else. I am your host, Sin. I'm super excited today, as always, on every podcast. I got two great guests in the house, and we're going to get controversial, informative, all that good stuff on this podcast. Can my guests please introduce yourselves?
I'm Carissa.
CJ Neal with Neal Center for Justice.
Neal Center for Justice as a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer, but we do have lawyers that work with us. We're a civil rights, civil liberties organization here in Tulsa. So
cool.
We've been working on some things going on here, trying to bring a little justice in the world. So.
Hey, little justice is better than no justice. I'll tell you that. And Carissa, why are we here today? You kick us off because I love your energy. You kick us off. Why are we here talking about on this podcast today?
Free the nipple.
Is that the term for the movement? Free the nipple, huh?
Yes, there is actually a movie on Amazon about the New York girls that kind of busted it all open. New York's had it legal since 1992. But they were still arresting women that were topless. And they were like, but it's legal. And they actually got a lawyer. They started getting funding donations, got celebrities on board, and it became a huge social media movement. I think it was 2012 is when it kind of kicked off.
I didn't know that. So in New York, they can go topless in the streets and it's no problem.
Yep.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. So free the nipple's been the hashtag since day one, since it ever was public.
So how long has it, because for some reason it just kind of felt like, I want to say 2 weeks ago. When was the skate event?
I want to say about 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago is when it really hit, but kind of people were coasting by on it.
So was it something that had been in the works before? Because I had never heard nothing about this ever. And then next thing I know, I look up and I see the skating thing, and I'm like, what? Is this about to happen? What's going on?
Well, when the whole New York thing happened, everyone thought, oh, it's just New York. Kind of the country kind of just fell wayside. And then other cities started getting on the bandwagon, and then there started being more court cases out of other states and circuit courts. And then, of course, Fort Collins won, but that was under 10th Circuit, which covers Oklahoma. All the other ones, it didn't cover Oklahoma, so it was never an issue here.
Yeah.
We just kind of overlooked it. It's conservative, not our state, not our courts.
Exactly. Yeah. So how, with the skate event, how was that? Let's talk about that. How was that skate event?
That was amazing. It was so freeing and such a blast, and everyone was so supportive. We had well over 100 people and only one protester. So, I mean, the odds were amazing.
Wow. With the he had the megaphone, didn't he? Yeah, I saw him on the news.
He wasn't there very long with me following them.
I saw
That was me.
So you ran him out of there, huh?
Yeah, every time he'd turn around, I was right there, and he was like,
wow.
I thought it's poop. Wow. And he took off running. So
what was some of his points that he was making? What was he so fired up about?
At first, it was my children, my children, my children. And I don't include children into adult conversations or adult issues. I will fight for my kids as an adult. They do not have to do that. Yeah, well, once he started saying, my 8-year-old this, my 8-year-old that, I went and got my 5-year-old, my 8-year-old that was at the park, and I walked over there. I said, my kids are perfectly fine, happy. They're playing. They're not worrying about any of us girls that are topless.
I agree with that.
And they're perfectly fine. I said, so give another point. And then after that, he started attacking the transgender that we had there. He started attacking the other girls because he knew I was proving his points wrong.
What was his issue with the transgender?
He kept saying, look at this, he, she, it's a man with tit, totally downgrade. It's okay, now you're not just making women mad. Now you have a whole nother group that you're going to make mad.
He was going at everybody, basically.
Yeah, because he figured out he couldn't get away with me because I done brought my kids over and said my kids are perfectly fine and healthy and loving and accepting and they just want to play.
They're not worried about this stuff that you caught up in. So with Oklahoma, let's get into the law stuff and talk about exactly what the big push is and what you guys are fighting for. And then we'll go into all the questions that I got. I'm sure I'm going to open it up for some of the stuff that other people may have that may not agree with the entire cause the law says that women what when it comes to being nippleless. I mean, not nippleless, but shirtless. What is the
I'm
law?
pretty sure CJ can help elaborate on this, but before it was by state law, the nipple and areola had to be covered. That was it.
Okay.
And then, of course, city ordinances on different cities and kind of how that works.
Wow. CJ, you got anything you want to add with that?
So this is kind of where all this started. So the 10th Circuit passed a ruling in a case where Fort Collins, Colorado, brought a case before them, the 10th Circuit. And the case was basically two women who were, in essence, suing because they were prohibited from being topless. The ruling stated that it was unconstitutional for them to say that women can't be topless, but men can. In other words, it's acceptable for men to go around without shirts on all day long. That's not an issue. As soon as women do, they're either ticketed or, worst case, put in jail and have repercussions after that. So that's where the case started. So Fort Collins brought the case before the 10th Circuit. The 10th Circuit said, look, it's unconstitutional. If this case was brought before us, we would agree that it was unconstitutional to have this ordinance. So they had a time to appeal. The Fort Collins city had time to appeal. They did not. So after their appeal process was done, after they had gone over that, then it became legal. It was something where you cannot have an ordinance that says women can't be in a certain state, but men can be. So that's kind of where it started on the legal terms. Now, how we got involved was we had someone that contacted us that went to the skating event, and she said, hey, I just got a ticket on Sunday because an officer pulls me over and tells me that what I'm doing is illegal according to city ordinances and writes me a ticket.
Was she in her car?
Yeah, she was in her car. Now,
topless?
Yes, topless. Now, the thing about that is that she was pulled over. The city cop pulls her over, goes to the car, and is talking with her about being topless. So as a backup, a county sheriff comes up. So now the city cop and the county sheriff are arguing or debating, or however you want to put it. Because the county sheriff is like, 10th Circuit's already passed it. It's a done deal. So I guess they contacted the supervisor for the city, and they advised them that, yeah, it's illegal. He wrote her a ticket, and so she brought the ticket to us. Now, strange things have happened since then. She came to us, talked to us about doing it. We contacted an attorney that works with us. Ran the case by her. She said, yeah, it's definitely an issue where she shouldn't have been ticketed. Then the city, because it goes to, of course, local media gets hold of it. They published a story on it. We were on Channel 8, did a story with them about it. And then the city comes back and says, well, disregard that ticket. So I think this is an issue where they're worried about the legal aspects of it too. Now, from what I understand, this is something where the Attorney General of the state has basically said, look, we're going to uphold Oklahoma law despite what the 10th Circuit has ruled in this. Okay. And you can't do that.
You can't do that.
If federal courts say that this is something that is unconstitutional and they're applying it within your district, Oklahoma is a part of the 5 states that are in the 10th Circuit. If they say it's unconstitutional within that circuit, then it's unconstitutional. You can't just enact your own deal. This is kind of reminiscent. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but it's kind of reminiscent of segregation laws, busing laws, when the federal court would rule on something, but then the state would go, well, no, we've got laws that say something completely different, so we're going to go by these, and you can't do that.
That's just like, there's a misconception. Everyone's like, well, cannabis is illegal federally, but we have a state law allowing it, and it's like, but cannabis wasn't considered unconstitutional. There's nothing in the Constitution about cannabis. That's how that's allowed to be different. When it's considered unconstitutional, that's a whole new ballpark that they're not going to go against. Like,
you said something right when you started. Like, this whole ordeal is just kind of, for me, just kind of, I'm like on the fence. Like, I'm like, you know, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
Right.
I see problems if it does happen,
Right.
that I are concerns. But you said something earlier when you talked that kind of just put this whole thing in like a wow moment. Like, I never thought about it like that. You said men, when they go out, they wear their shirts, everything is fine, but women are actually getting locked up and ticketed for this, and that stuck with me. Like, I never thought about that. Like, if a woman wants to take off her shirt and, you know, expose herself and go out and just be that way, she can go to jail for that.
She can go to jail. And the thing is that when you look at the city ordinance actually says, and this is in regard to serving food. It's funny. I went to the city because when this first started, I said, okay, so where's this law? Mm-hmm. And I go up to the city hall, and they send me over to the clerk's desk. I go over to the clerk's desk, and they're looking at me like, well, we're going to have to look that up for you and get back with you. Mm-hmm. Then they send me a litany from this, from the law, and it basically stated that men or women in that condition, that it would be considered to be something that would be illegal. And then it goes into according to statutes that are passed by the Department of Health, and this is in regards to food. So then I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, well, if this is in regards to food, what are we talking about here as far as just things that aren't involving food? I mean, we're talking about a woman, if she's out jogging, you see men on the riverside all the time jogging without a shirt on. In our society, it's socially acceptable because that's just the way that, you know, we are here in the state of Oklahoma as far as being in the Bible Belt and what's culturally acceptable and things like that. But in other places, you know, especially if you were to go to places overseas, you'll see women, they'll run along topless with men running around topless, and it's not something where you see a bunch of men that are just, you know, stopping their cars in the middle of the highway and trying to watch or, you know, trying to, you know, do all this stuff.
That's my only thought. Like, when I think about it, initially, the initial thought of it, a woman being topless, it's like you go out and we have an imagination. We see women fully clothed. We imagine what they look like with no clothes off, you know, in a respectful way. Keep it pushing, boom, boom, boom. Or if you like a woman, you stop and talk to her. And then I thought, if we were out in like a woman's no shirt, like the hawks that's going to be on her, like, oh, come here, like the attention in that way. It seems as if that the whole movement wasn't about getting attention with just look at me. It was sort of like being, okay, I want to be able to do what it is that I feel like I want to do. I hear free a lot. Even the thought of working out in the gym, like this stuff is to a normal guy. I consider myself a normal guy, and I'm thinking of this like what would it be like to go into the gym? And, you know, women basically don't have nothing on anyway at the gym, so that's a huge distraction. You know what I'm saying? For me, if I'm working out, to go in and like, you got a woman over there doing like chest things naked or like topless, like that would be
it's shell
insane.
shock.
Very shell shock.
At first, it like when we did the Tulsa event or the OKC event, we know at first it's going to be like photo, and that's not what we're after. But we also know that once it becomes more of a normal thing, that tends to fade out, and we don't want to not do this and it not be in the public eye and in people's face, so then they don't end up getting over it. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, just because you have the right doesn't mean you should do it. Okay, but if we don't do it, it's just going to push to the side. Okay, no one's doing it, so we're not going to worry about it. And then it's going to be like in New York, where it was legal since 92, but nobody was pushing it. Yeah. So they didn't even realize it was even legal on the law books until someone actually brought it to the attention to everybody that it was legal.
Now I got a question for you. You say do it until it becomes normal amongst all of us, right? And CJ mentioned similarities between this and discrimination. So to make discrimination normal, we went through a lot of shit. A lot of negative stuff, a lot of hate, a lot of deaths, a lot of... How much is it going to take to make it normal? Like, and I'm not saying like I'm just saying, like, it's crazy people in the world. So, like, to really push it and make it normal, how much do you think would really, like, happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, bad stuff, like, with you know.
If that's what it takes for my generation to take that suffer and that hardship and the hateful comments so my daughter can be free and know that she is equal in this world, and that no one's going to put her in this little box and tell her what she can or cannot be, who she can or cannot be, what her morals can or cannot be, or, you know, anything like that, then that's what we have to take. Okay. I mean, it's just like, you know, with Rosa Parks. What if she didn't get on that bus that day? Or what if she just listened to the cop and moved? Like, where would we be in society now if she wouldn't have been like, man, I could be beat, I could be shot, I could be, you know, what if she didn't go through that? What if that fright was in her head?
She never did it.
Here's the thing that we have to look at. We view sexuality
Could you hand me my phone right
in the state of Oklahoma and within the United States itself. We view sexuality completely different than any other places in the world. Anybody that's ever been in the military, if you've gone over to Germany, you know, you watch a commercial for the first time and you almost go into shell shock because it's something there. Nudity is there. It's present. It's a part of everyday life. Nobody is just, you know, they're not having heart attacks in the street because of it. Yeah. It's something that is just normal. Because their views of sexuality are completely different there than they are here. For a long time, women have been considered the core of anything sexual, as far as if they're not dressed or if they're dressed a certain way, then they're going to instigate this behavior because men just can't control themselves, you know.
Victim shaming, it goes back to that.
And it goes back to, in that sense, too, into victim shaming. And so by doing this, the one thing that you do is you bring attention to the fact that a person is more than just their body. A person is an individual. So if that person chooses to be in their home and they choose to do whatever, that's fine. If they are in a public place where a man has his shirt off, okay, but they can't because society and laws, which are backed up by that, dictate it, there needs to be a question as to, okay, well, why is it okay for this to happen, but it's not okay for this to happen? The Bible Belt, when she told me about what happened with the guy that was at the park, that is just something that to some, and I'm not going to say to all, but to some, because you go to other places around the world and people look at you like, what gives you the right to, you know, do that?
And I mean, there's people online that have told me, because I was at a park with my children, that I should be a sex offender on a registry. I'm a child predator.
Wow.
When I never even touched a child, and I'm not like fully nude, like, but yet a man can be topless and he's not a sex offender or a child predator because he's at the park with his kids with his shirt off. So it's like it goes back to that you're doing something wrong. You're the reason, you know, everything. And it's like my kids they were worried about playing. They weren't worried about any of us.
I think like my opinion or what the more we talk and the more like when I was reading the stuff, is it, and I'm asking this question to see like the center focal point that's pushing this whole thing. It seems as if it's like, okay, women are being degraded when it comes to men, like the fight.
We're second-class citizens to men. Yes.
You think that's what you guys believe?
And some people will actually back that up by biblical principles. The sad thing is that you have people that, for some reason, they feel like they need to be superior over people. People that are racist feel like they need to be more superior than any other race. People that are sexist feel like, because I am this sex, I feel like I am more superior than anybody else. And it's become so ingrained in our society here in the United States to where when women were trying to seek the right to vote, that was a shock. Everybody, this is going to cause our society to go, completely to hell in a handbasket because a woman is casting a vote. Women in the workplace. Oh, this is going to be completely, society is just going to, this is going to be the fall of society as it is.
Or back in the day, you could legally rape your wife, and if she's your wife, that's your property. It was not considered rape. And people think that since the beginning of time, rape's been around. It's like, no, not too long ago. Once you married, you had to serve your husband. There was no going to the police saying, I said no, and he didn't stop. No. They're like, you're married.
What if, and I want you guys' honest opinion about it. What if it's like, because the way that I look at it, from my point of view, I'm not saying from everyone else's, but I would say like men, there is a difference between men and women. I believe
there is.
I believe that men were made different from women. Women were made different from men. I don't feel as if I accept the differences and I admire the differences. I don't look at women lower because nothing will go right without a woman. Like, we need women just as much as anything else in this world. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's an equal thing. I'm not upset that a woman could have a child and I can't, like, you know what I'm saying? It's a 50-50 thing. But what if it, with men being natural protectors, like, we feel as if, we supposed to protect our women. Like, this is the way I view. This is the way I was born. So I'm not looking at the topless thing as we can go out with our shirts off and women can't. I'm looking at it as if, and that's when I want to get the husband's perspective on it as well. I think that'd be awesome. I'm looking at it as if, I want to protect my my daughter, my wife from crazy people, and I wouldn't want her to put herself, because like when my daughter goes to dance, the little dance outfits that they cover up when you're going out, because it's like, I know it's just you're going to dance, but I know it's crazy people in the world. Right. So I just put something on when you're going out, because I don't know what other people think when they're out and about. So,
but you also have to understand, she could literally be dressed in a nun outfit, head to toe, covered hair like the Muslims do, like with a hijab, and
that's true. That's
covered
true.
to the nines. If someone wants to do something, it's not going to stop them, no matter how many layers you have. You could have a chastity belt. They'll find channel lock somewhere. Like, they will get that thing off if they really want to. Like, and that's what most people don't understand, is it's like, I want to protect, my wife or my child, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day what you have on. If someone's going to do something, it's just like, no matter if you wear body armor, someone wants to hurt you and kill you, they're gonna find a way.
That's such a good point. Like, that's such, like, I when I say certain things and I get a response, but that's like dead on the money. Okay, open my mind and say, okay, I never thought about it like that. I just think about going out there, just, you see something and it's enticing to someone else that you don't know, you just cover up. But like you say, you could be fully covered. Right. If the intention is there to do something, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Here's the deal that you have to look at, too. Now, I understand that we live in a society where we have some sick people. Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
I understand that there are people every day that kidnap women, and they're put into all sorts of horrific situations, losing their lives. I understand that, okay? And I also understand that there are people in society, especially those who are husbands or boyfriends or brothers or dads or whatever the case may be. They want to make sure that if they have someone that's a female in their life, that they are protected. Completely understand that. What you also have to look at, too, is the mentality of these people, though. You have kids that are kidnapped in malls. Where there are hundreds of people around, okay? I mean, there are dozens of people around. That person will go and do that, despite there being people around, despite there being, So, what do we say then? Okay, well, we don't need kids in malls because, they're going to get taken, so we don't want to have kids there. No. What you do is you, as a parent, understand that this is something that could happen, and you watch your kids, and you do what you do as a parent. Now, in the same way, if you have someone that whatever the case may be, if you have a female that feels like, you know what, it's a hot day, I want to go jogging, I want to go jogging with my friends, I want to go jogging in this condition. And I say condition, going topless. I don't think that we need to start saying, okay, well, you are going to cause somebody to act a certain way because of what you are doing. What we need to look at is the individual that's acting that way.
Yeah.
And we need to ask, why in the world is it that you feel like it's acceptable to do something to someone else? You know,
instead of putting the blame on that person that chooses to okay.
Right.
And just like you saying, you want to protect your daughter or your wife, but think about mentally what you're doing to them. They're thinking, oh, well, if I wear this and something happens to me, it's my fault. And that's why a lot of women don't come forward, because growing up it was, you put this on, you cover that up, this, you that. So when it does happen, they're like, did I say something wrong? Did I touch his hand and didn't mean to? Yeah. Did I say something that I shouldn't have said? Did I entice in some way? Did I give him a look? Was my shirt too low? And a lot of people don't understand, in the midst of trying to protect the people that you love, you're also psychologically damaging them to where when something happens, they don't think, oh, well, it doesn't matter if I'm outside naked. This is wrong. This should not have been done to me. And they're going to be blamed, and they're going to be held accountable.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like, you both dropped great points about blaming the person, like blaming a woman if she chose to want to run topless for the actions of a sick person. I wouldn't even say a crazy person to do something. And
now,
I think
here's something too that I think is interesting, because someone brought this up and we actually had a debate about this, and it comes from the Bible. If you remember the story of David, David is up on his rooftop. He's looking out upon his kingdom, and Bathsheba is there taking a bath, right? So the person was bringing up to me that, see, if Bathsheba wouldn't have been there and she wouldn't have been doing that, then David wouldn't have acted the way that he did. My question to him was, if David is a king, he knows what law is. He knows that is somebody else's wife. He is the one that initiated the actions that caused all of the other things.
Yeah, that's true.
So in that sense, if a woman is doing something legally and she is being lawful, for someone to do something that is unlawful does not mean that you turn around and look at the person that's doing something legally and go, well, if you wouldn't have done this, then they wouldn't have done that. You know?
That's insane to when you really think about it, to put the blame on the victim blaming. Is that what they call it?
Victim shaming?
To do that, like, that's insane. I do know. The more we talk, the more ideas come, the more things come. And I do know, as far as like my wife, when she gets home, the first thing and I don't know because when you say, just, if a woman wants to go outside and just run without a bra, it's like, huh?
Right.
But when I really think about it, that's the first thing they do when they get home. I got to come up out this bra. I got to get out this bra. So is it more the freedom to do that, to be able to be out, and if they choose to express themselves like that, or if they want to go run and not be bothered by a bra, just to have it out and still be looked at as if I'm just jogging, just like a man would be jogging.
You know, one thing about that, though, and this was something that was brought up yesterday when we were talking about this, women who go to concerts in Oklahoma. Okay, I don't know if you've ever been to Rocklahoma, okay, or any of the other major concerts that are outside, but if you're going there in the middle of summer, it's hot. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about like 90 degrees plus, okay? There are guys out there, shirts are off, they may be down in boxers. Now, Rocklahoma may not be the best example because there are women that are going to be there topless anyway. But the reason why they do that, though, is because it's hot. Okay, and they want to be there and be at the concert and have fun and have a good time. And if they get hot, they want to.
Even with nudists, there's so many different kinds of nudists and exhibitionists and stuff like that is a little bit different. They could be there but it doesn't mean that they have all the same interests. Just like there's going to be people, like with the whole bathroom thing. Oh, well, people are just going to start dressing like females to rape somebody. Well, that could happen in a nudist resort. Oh, well, I know kids are there. I know that's there. I'm just going to say I'm a nudist, and I'm just going to go for it. But they can kind of spot those people. If you even get a slight erection in front of somebody, you're out of there. They don't give you the time to touch or do anything like that. But yet in our normal society, oh, well, you were just touched. Or, oh, well, you wore that. Like, we're going to drop this, case on somebody. Like, and it's like, okay, but they've literally stopped that being an issue or a problem, and people don't use that as an outlet for evil things because they can't get away with it. But out in normal society, they know that 10 to 1, they can get away with it.
So how would we, if this was to go into effect, if this was to happen, what are some of the ways that you feel like we as a society could be better at handling these situations to where we don't have situations where women that's expressing themselves are not put in danger or being harmed or being attacked, not just from crazy people, but also people that disagree with what they're doing? Because now everything, you like Domino's, I like Pizza Hut, we divided. Like now anything that people view differently is cause for people to be divided and attack each other.
But even if we were divided, and I knew that you didn't like something I did, because, like, I'm Wiccan. My husband's Christian. Pretty sure you guys are Christian. There's Muslims out there that say, right now, I'm too exposed with having my hair exposed.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody agrees. But if I see someone out on the street getting mugged, I'm going to step in, or I'm going to call 911. Or if I see someone getting beat, I'm going to step in and help them.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to understand as a society. You may not like that person, but if there's something wrong going on, you need to stop it or call or witness, statement, something like that. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans. It doesn't matter your faith. It does not matter your color. It does not matter, if you're male, female, if you're a child, if you're an adult. Like, we have to realize as a society, crime is crime, period, point blank. It doesn't matter if it happens against me. Next week, it could be your daughter. 2 weeks from now, it could be your wife. You would want someone to step in. So that's where you have to consciously say, well, if this is someone I love, I'd want to step in. So I need to step in for them so their loved ones have someone stepping in for them. And
I agree 100%. That's the way we need to be as humans. Help the next person, regardless if I'm walking down the street and someone disagrees with what I don't agree with or whatever it may be, we're still human. Whether that person's gay, whether that person's white, whether that person's want to wear they breasts, whatever it may be, we still have to live here together. So everybody's views is going to be different. So if we could take that mentality and put it in everyone, it would be a great place. But I'm trying to figure out what's the best way now that we can do it, that we can have these laws go into effect, be able to take on the nudists, like the colonies that you was talking about. Like, what are some of like, if it was just to happen, it's just kind of like, okay, we go along with this way, and then boom, this happens, and with people being brought up and trained, I wouldn't even say trained, but being used to this kind of way, they know how to handle it. They know how to approach it. We don't know how to handle any of it.
Okay, but you have to look back to the segregation. Things were one way, and then the next day, boom, all of a sudden you have this shell shock. Like, it's not going to happen overnight, but it is going to happen, and we just have to learn how to face it.
Live with it.
Like, I mean, there's a women's self-defense class that we heard on Facebook in town gives women free self-defense classes. Like, these people need to come have conversations with us just like you are, being like, hey, I don't agree with it, I don't really understand it, but here, let me get their take on it, let me figure out how I can be accepting to other people even though I don't agree with them. How can I be better as a society? You want to blame the victim. Okay, well, look at yourself. What can I change in my life? Because I control my emotions, I control my feelings. This is something I have to deal with, so I need to find out how to do it for myself to deal with it.
And here's the thing, there are laws that are already on the books. The problem is that how we enact those laws. For a long time, you've read, I'm sure, stories and seen them on the news about women that are attacked at colleges. These women are shamed. It's always something to the point to where someone's looking like, well, if she wouldn't have been in this place at this time, or if she wouldn't have been doing this at this time, then this happened. The one thing that we need to do as a society is we need to start holding the people that are actually doing this accountable. And we're beginning to do that. You know, the Me Too movement started. That really started to push more of the issue of, hey, I deserve to be respected just as you do, and you don't have the right because you feel like I did something to provoke you to do this. That doesn't give you the right to violate my rights.
Or that's like a lot of people don't understand the mute R. Kelly is because he was getting away through the law system, and they came out with that documentary Surviving R. Kelly, and they literally started the mute R. Kelly movement because the courts weren't doing anything. So it's like, okay, let's take away his concerts, let's take away his money, let's, stop that. And that was a part of that Me Too movement and everything else times up that came along with that whole movement.
And the thing, though, about that, and kind of speaking to what she was talking about, but you have people that are held to different standards in our society. If you are male and you have money, then the things that you do are not going to be the same as someone if you are male, black, and don't have money. Or Hispanic and don't have it, and it doesn't matter. So what we have to do as a society, we have to understand that laws are and should be applied to everyone equally.
Yeah, definitely.
When you become a group of people that says, yes, we have this law, but he's 18 and his family is affluent, and just because he did this one little thing, we're just going to give him 60 days in jail, like we have seen in the U.S.
But it's wrong,
versus someone else that does something completely, totally different of a minor nature, and they're given a year or 5 years or 10 years. Those are the things that you have to look at. And until we do that, then it really doesn't matter about what kind of state we have or what kind of things we try to do. It has to do with the individuals. A law is only as good as the society that is either going to back up those laws and make sure that they're enacted, or look at the law and say, yeah, we understand that, but we're going to do our own thing.
Because people also have to look, our peers are going to be on that jury. So if as a society we're told this is wrong, you're not supposed to do that, and then this jury's supposed to prosecute this guy, they're going to come back with, well, wait, us as a society have grown up here and you're not supposed to do this or that. That's what she was doing, so how can I prosecute somebody on that? And that's what a lot of people don't understand is, we are judged by our peers. It's not just in a courtroom with a judge and two attorneys and then that's it. Or in the media, they're coming out, I didn't do it. So then you've got thousands of people backing up one woman. And, even though they have those 1,000 people, he may have 1 million people backing him up. And it's then you're trapped into this corner of, why am I even doing this? I don't have the backing he has. I don't have the support he has. Nothing. And you're made to feel like shit.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that, whether I agree with the movement or not, I don't even know if it's about agreeing. It's just understanding it. I'll say it like that. It's not about me agreeing or disagreeing. It's just about me fully understanding the reason why, fully understanding that it'll be things set in place to protect the women, you know what I'm saying, to let them be able to express themselves. And it's the society or people around me understanding, okay, this is this situation, this is how we're going to view it, and this is how we're going to respect it. And my thing is just, okay, being a husband and being, and this is where we open it up and we talk about,
be real.
Yeah, definitely. Where we talk about just some of the things, being a man, being in a relationship, trying to be faithful, and having a situation come up to where you out and about and you with your wife and you're someplace, and then this, because, and I always say this, and I strongly believe this, my wife knows this, just because I got married, every woman in the world didn't become ugly. there's still beautiful women that of course you're attracted to. That's in this world. Every woman then all of a sudden, become ugly now that I'm married. So we're out and about, and I always make it a point to never make my wife feel like there's anybody else in the room better than her. Yes, you know what I'm saying. So I've never, she's never caught me looking at a woman, you know, nothing like that. But I'm just saying, we out and about, and this fine woman just comes out of nowhere, and she's like, you know.
But when we talk about making it not sexual, let's say a woman has a turtleneck on, but she's got her sleeves up. Are you gonna sit here and stare at my elbow?
But,
like, I mean, that's where you have to be like, dude, I ain't going to stare at someone's elbow.
Well,
like, you in your brain has to.
And what you're saying, let me ask you this. You're out with your wife, right? You're out in public. And Halle Berry comes walking the other way. Are you going to look?
No.
You're not going to look.
I'm not going to look. I'm going to look like, God, that's Halle Berry. But I'm not going to. I've never. And this one,
he's like,
man, look, you got me on podcast and on camera. I'm not getting ready to say I'm
This one thing that I pride myself on, and I'll call my wife right now. Have there ever been a time where you can say we've been out together and there are women around that I made you feel like, dang, he's just. Well, I just won't do it. Now, if Holly, fellas out there know exactly what I'm talking about. There are ways that you're supposed to do it.
Right, exactly.
There are ways that you're supposed to do it. I'm not going. Yes, there's ways that you do it that you don't let your, I'm not going to be like, oh, man.
But
this,
But then again, us women, your wife could be like, oh, hey, look at that shirt that guy's wearing. Like, and you're just like, oh, okay, whatever. You don't think it's that internal thing. See, like, when he looks at women, I don't think that's bad. He's with me. He comes home with me at the end of the day. He is with me. He's not chasing that girl down the street, like, trying to get her number, like, trying to hook up. That's where we have to, again, look internally. Mm-hmm. It's called self-esteem, not others' esteem, or self-respect and not others' respect.
Now that you open that up and you say that, because we could be somewhere and you could see a guy running, abbed up, muscled up. I don't know how my wife thinks when she sees. I'm sure she thinks, oh, dang, that dude's good, he's in shape. But I don't process that like I think she would process it if I was to be out and see a naked woman or a topless woman walking down the street, like, whoa, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we?
But then again, how do you internally? You don't take it as, oh, I need to be jealous. Oh, I need to be like them.
Yeah,
so
I don't.
Us as women need to understand we're not top 10 hottest, supermodel out there, higher than Tyra Banks, or any of those supermodels. But at the end of the day, they do come home with us. We have to have our own self-esteem and self-respect and not be like, oh my gosh, if he looks at that girl, my self-esteem's just gone and I'm just wrecked. Because what if he does pass away? What if there's a car wreck or something? What am I going to do then? Because I've put all into what he thinks and making him happy. Yeah. Now I'm lost. Yeah. They don't call it others' esteem for a reason, because you need others to validate, your looks, or validate who you are, or validate your standing in society. That's all on us. And it goes back to this self-love, not others' love. And that's kind of what we need to get back to is, I know he's going to look at other women. Heck, I've pointed out other women for him to look at because I've caught it. Because I know I'm not the greatest, but I also know my own self-worth and my own self-esteem. And just because some girl walks by doesn't mean that.
And I agree. And I know that my wife is like, ultimately, it goes back to what you said. The people that make those actions and do those actions, those are the ones responsible. Ultimately, my wife knows that we can be out, we can be whatever. It doesn't matter if that woman comes fully clothed, half naked. It's on me as far as the decision whether I'm gonna look, whether I'm gonna pursue, what I'm gonna do. So ultimately, I feel like when you're with somebody, their opinion does matter. Their view does matter of you. Self-love is very important. But if you didn't care what that person thought, you wouldn't be with them. You wouldn't be investing your time and your life into them. But ultimately, it's up.
But you don't care if she looks at a man.
It does. I wouldn't say I don't care.
It goes into this.
I don't say I don't care. I just say it may hit me differently. I say it may hit a little differently than me staring at a woman breast out. Like her looking at a guy running, shirt, abbed up. maybe it's just because that's the way we've been,
Taught
the way
as
that
a
it is.
It's the way that men
Yeah.
view women versus
Sexually.
the way that women view
Exactly.
men.
So that's the point that I'm trying
That's
to.
the deal. And
that's what I'm
it
trying to
comes
make.
down again to the way that society deems that. You can have a guy that is out with his shirt off and it's deemed culturally acceptable by society. And then laws back that up. But if a woman does it, you're going to... the funny thing about all of this is that when this started, and I first saw this on the news before we were ever contacted about, coming in and trying to assist with anything. Mm-hmm. The first thing that happened is when I saw this, I said, okay, knowing that we're in Oklahoma, knowing the mindset of some, and I don't want to say, well, everybody thinks this is in Oklahoma. I understand that there's diversity here, but for the majority of the fact, knowing how the majority thinks, that people are going to look at this and automatically lose their minds for a few days because they're going to, and sure enough, case in point, I go to the state fair and I'm there. I've got my wife there. I've got my daughter there. We're walking around and there's people that are topless walking around. I'm a photographer, so I've taken photos of pretty much, everything from newsworthy to glamour, just those different things. So I'm not so much affected by it. Mm-hmm. Of course, you've got people that are literally falling over, and these weren't just men that were doing this. I mean, these were women that you turn the corner and all of a sudden you see somebody about to fall out because of somebody that's walking by.
Oh yeah,
and it's that shock value.
Yeah.
Now you take that same scenario here, you go overseas, and I use Germany just because I'm familiar with that. You go over to places in Germany where they have fairs and they have Oktoberfest and things like that there and stuff, and you have someone that's going around, you're going to have people, they'll sit up and have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's it's not a big thing because it's a norm for them.
Because
they understand.
They view it as like an elbow or a foot or a knee. Just because you have it exposed doesn't mean I'm just like, touch me. And that's kind of where our mindset is. We look at breast as sexual. That's a sexual thing. We do sexual acts, but a foot, people could have a foot fetish. Does that mean I have to cover my foot up because it could be sexual to somebody?
Yeah. Talking about being out at the fair with that situation, and the first thing that I thought that I'm not saying every woman's like this, but the first thing that came to my mind is some women would literally look at that and be so mad at that woman because the reaction that their husband gives or the reaction that their boyfriend gives.
And that was the case.
I know it.
This happened there. But again, it has to deal with society. And it has to deal with the way that not just men look at women, but the way that women look at women. I have been to places where women will downgrade another woman more so than any man can. Yeah.
But this is also why women have an advance because we're not united like we were back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Now it's more like I'm going to put down the woman next to me, make myself look better, and everything else.
And society acceptable.
And just like people in the hater group, if you come near my children or my husband, I'm going to knock you out. Okay, well, you go sit at David L. Moss, away from your husband, away from your children, let you have these charges on you, which is going to affect your housing, which is going to affect jobs and everything else. Well, I'm out with my husband and my children. Why let somebody get you to that point where you are taken from everything you love while I'm sitting out here enjoying time with my family?
Just exactly what you're saying, but I looked at Facebook posts from people that were posting things after this became legal. And I saw more women threatening other women. And I'm looking at this, and it wasn't a deal where, hey, you know what? I don't like this. I don't want my kids around it. Those type of things. This was literally, if I see somebody, I'm knocking her in the face, and I'm doing all this, and I'm going...
Or hoping that we get raped and murdered and sexually assaulted. And it's like, why would you hope for somebody to have that? Because... these guys may get, let's say 5 years. That woman lives a lifetime sentence of what happened to her. you know, and
Forever.
everything else. And that's what they
Right.
don't understand. You're going to give me a life sentence for a moment in my life, or because son, I grew in 10 years, I'd be like, dude, I'm too old. I need to keep this shirt on. Like, I'm not my best. You know what I mean?
And I got to say this: when I went to the fair and I saw this, there were, you know, because a lot of guys, in a guy's mind, when they first heard this in topless, their vision is, oh my gosh, they're going to be these cover girl, and they're going to be
Plastic
walking
surgery.
out, and it's gonna be no. I saw moms. I saw a couple of grandmas. And they were just walking around, you know. I mean, I saw one lady there, and the reason why I say this is because I was like, when I first saw it, I thought, you know what? That takes some guts. This
Kudos.
woman was probably in her mid-60s, okay, or older. She was out. She had her sun hat on. She had these big pink glasses on, no shirt. Long summer dress. I mean, like long down to her ankles with some, and she was going about doing her thing, and she didn't care what somebody was saying or thinking. Now, you know, of course, there's something that, you know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and it all boils down to this, and this is the reason why we're involved. No matter what you think, at the end of the day, if a court has said this is legal, if a court has said it is unconstitutional for you to set aside a set of rules for one group of our society and it not apply to all, then you have to accept that.
Yeah.
And if you are a place like here in Tulsa where, according to what I've seen in some of the statutes where it says either male or female, if it's illegal and you say that in the law that it's male or female, but males can run up and down Riverside and have been doing it for a very long time and have not been ticketed or fined or anything like this, but a woman is driving in her car after it's been blasted all over the news that the 10th Circuit has said this is legal for her to do, and you stop her and you write her a citation for that. Are you really applying the law? Are you really applying the law when she's in a car with a male who is next to her who is topless? You don't ticket him, but you ticket her.
Yeah. It's pretty deep when you think about it.
So now you're choosing who the law is going to apply to and who it isn't. So that's the reason why we're involved in the center, and we're going to do what we can. Right now, of course, it goes through the process of whether or not the city is going to actually say, yes, we did write the ticket, and yes, we're going to hold her accountable. The city is nervous, okay? That's the reason why when this happened and we were calling to get verification, I had one lady in the court office that was telling me, no, there was no ticket issued. And I'm sitting up here, and I've got the citation, and I've got the citation number, and I'm giving her the citation number.
What she's saying.
And then she goes, well, hold on. And then there's this long pause. I don't know whether she like contacted the officer or drove out to meet I don't know. I just know there's a long pause. And then she comes back on the line and says, well, just disregard that. So now you're sending mixed signals, you know.
But I mean, it also goes back to that hate group that is so against us, that has told us we're sex offenders, we're child predators, we need to be raped, we need to be assaulted, we need this and that. If this was to be any other sort of discrimination, the LGBT community, African American community, that Facebook would be shut down quicker than quick. People would be calling for these people to be drugged out in the middle of the street, called out publicly. But since it's against women, where is anyone calling for, you know, we wouldn't do that to any other discrimination group. We've already deemed that it's socially acceptable for these people to live how they want to live, but nobody's going up against, you know, these hater groups against women.
What do you think, just in your opinion, if you could, you couldn't pinpoint one certain thing, but if you could just think about some of the reasons why people are intimidated by it, what were you thinking? What were some of the big reasons why they're so intimidated?
It's just mostly society and upbringing and what has been drilled into your head all your life, from anything from culture to religious belief. And it's so foreign to you that now you're going to find every excuse in you're going to mess up my children. Okay, well, what about nudist children that have been living for over 50 years as nudists with their children, raising them? What about, back in the day when, gay people were in the closet, but they still had children, still lived normal life, but that was their uncle. They lived up normal and fine and everything else, and then us as society had to get behind it and say it was acceptable. It's just going to take some time, but, my kids are accepting of the LBGT community. They are accepting of people of other colors. They are acceptive of, me being topless along with their dad. I was telling my son, women can be topless now. He said, yeah, anyways, Mom, about this tree over here. And that's all he cared about was the tree. My kids are more accepting than anybody else. My kids are not going to put down somebody. And I'm not going to let them put someone down as a parent because they're a different, belief system than me. My kids, they don't care about what your religion is. They don't care your color. They don't care what you wear. They don't care if you're wearing Walmart clothes compared to, American Eagle clothes. Like, my kids do not base it off stuff because of how I've raised them. So my kids are going to be the more accepting to where you should never teach a child to hate. And then people are like, well, why do we have so much hate in the world?
That's why.
Well, look what you beat into your children, saying African American people aren't bad. If you wear poor clothes, you're bad. You're on the other side of the tracks. We don't want you. You're your own class and group. Women, this or that. It doesn't matter what it is. Hate is a taught thing, and it is learned. And so you, as an adult, have to retrain yourself to stop that cycle, because if not, it's going to keep going.
I think everything that we were saying has been super informative. I feel like the only issues that I have, and I wouldn't even say issues, were just based on what we talked about, viewing it in a sexual way. That would be the only thing that I would see. But the one thing that I'm like, okay, no, is the 10-year-old, the law for being 10 years old and up, being able to do something like that. That's the only thing that I find. That's the only thing.
But you being a parent, you have that choice. But you're also not going to teach your kid to hate their peer
definitely
for wanting to exercise that right, or you're not going to teach your child, oh, well, that adult's bad, she's a sex offender. So it's like, you can have your right and say, my daughter's not doing that, but you still have to learn to accept other people and then teach your daughter that.
And the thing is, and it boils down to this, and I'm sorry, we're cutting close on time, but the thing is this. When you as a parent are making a decision as to whether or not your child is going to do something, you have every legal right to do that. That's the reason why, again, we talked about clothing and stuff in the beginning. If my daughter now, who is 5, when she gets to be a teenager, chances are I'm not going to be okay with that. But as her parent, I have the ability to do that. Now, when she gets 18 and she's an adult, it's her right to be able to, do whatever it is that she wants. But the one thing that I don't want is I don't want her growing up in a society where she feels like, because of her gender, that she is less than what she should be. And I definitely don't want something where she can be singled out because she's doing something that is legal for her to do.
No one says, I want to get to know this guy walking down the street with me. Nothing's ever going to change. All it takes is a conversation.
I agree. I definitely agree. Please go to the Facebook and open the dialogue, talk, express whatever it is that you feel that you're confused about, and get answers, because I came in knowing small things. I feel like I'm leaving knowing a lot more, understanding the movement a lot more, understanding the thing. I think right here is like the biggest thing. Understand that the thing that's being pushed is just, it's a choice. For the choice to have whether you want to go topless or not in certain situations, if that's what you want to do, that should be your choice. So
or choosing to love someone that does want to exercise that right. It's still, again, back to that choice. Awesome.
Life music and everything else, please go to iTunes, subscribe. We on Spotify. Thank you. Have a great day. God bless.